The following is part of a college course based on the textbook Anthropology, The Human Challenge, written by Haviland, Prinz, Walworth, and McBride, and published by Wadsworth, a part of Cengage Learning.
Dinti Emma ne Yamayan, Sandford, and answer Emma Winnipebia. Just said, Winnipa, we are back one, 10 piano. Why in ye, the baby? Just said, for Batchma, the new class, where the animal. Na say, any class where the animal, that's all you're back of pa. No chima, one on quara, move better than what did he? And you know, Sabema walk on our area near. Way chima, we bear the animal. Way ya dear, we Bethlehem Quarano. Just a nipper who say any, your dorsal. It is all you know, dear. Answer a back of woman, a back of fee. Now in your hoa, or a swab wow. To me, the men face I asked for me.
Families are the way that societies organize labor and care for children. Anthropologists define a family as two or more people related by blood, marriage, or adoption. Households are where families reside and are the smallest economic unit within cultures. Marriage creates families, and families are the institution in which children are born and inheritance is reckoned. There is a close correspondence between forms of marriage and the forms of families they create.
Does everyone want to get married?
Oh, everyone wants to get married. A man gets a wife to open the door. That's what getting a wife is for. Open the door and establish descendants.
What does opening the door mean?
Without future generations, doesn't your house simply close down? The more children, the more prosperity. You give birth to as many as your fate has in store.
In east-central Nepal, among the Yolmo pastoralists, couples are monogamous. One man and one woman constitute a married couple. This form of marriage, monogamy, is found where a married couple can sustain themselves on their own without relying on other spouses. The Yolmo household is a nuclear family made up of a man, woman, and their children. They live independently from their parents, first with their own herd and later, when they have the resources, in their own house in the village. In the case of the Yolmo, a newly married couple with a small herd of Zomo can manage the work on their own, and as children come along to provide additional labor, they expand their herd and add crops in the village fields. Nuclear families are beneficial where small family units, mobility, and independence confer an adaptive benefit. Sometimes two or more nuclear families live together for assistance and cooperation in an extended family. This extended family in Kazakhstan includes two brothers, their wives and children, and the families of their married children. Together, they can manage many more animals over larger distances, with multiple summer and winter pastures, sharing the work and the profits. At marriage, a Yolmo girl goes to live near her husband's family.
It's the custom, it's the way marriage and tradition works in that society. It's expected and they anticipate that they will move to their husband's house. Frequently, if the couple's young, the bride is captured and taken to the groom's home, and she and her young husband live there with his parents for a period of year or years until he's given his own herd and they separate formally from the family.
Patrilocal residence like this is common where men play a significant role in subsistence and male cooperation is required. Intensive agriculture or large animal husbandry require male strength and labor and are often associated with patrilocal residence. Other circumstances requiring male cooperation occur in societies where warfare is common, such as these New Guinea Highlanders, or in societies in which property is inherited through the male line, for example in India. In marriage systems such as this, women can be taken far from their families and social networks. Many societies have specific rules about when and for how long she can return to visit her parents. In a patrilocal system, bride price, or bride wealth, may be given by the groom's family to the bride's family in recognition of their loss of her labor and her reproductive potential. In southern Africa, the Juntwasi foragers also marry monogamously. Marriages are arranged by the parents, often when the girl is quite young.
When I came away from Kam, I had no father. I had to be a man and find my own wife. I visited many places. I looked at different girls, but soon I looked at one girl. I saw her under the baobabs when we came to visit her family at Gaucha. She was pretty. She was heavy with beads. When I first saw this person, she was very small.
It's true. When my husband here first saw me, I was little. I didn't even notice him. I was too young to know he was looking. I was always with my mother. I helped her get all kinds of food, like nga berries. But he thought about me even though I still had no breasts. He thought, I'll wait until that girl is big enough, then I'll take her and marry her and put her in my blankets. That's what he thought, even though my parents had promised me to another man. Tell the truth. What were you thinking about me?
I knew I would have her, but I decided to wait until she was bigger. Then I would come to where her family was staying and take her. But her father had promised her to the tallest Junqua in the world. He was as tall as a palm tree. Who hated him? He was too tall. All the men laughed at him, so he hated everybody.
The tall one tried to get me in his blanket, but I bit his finger. He broke my beads. I said I wanted no man who was as tall as a palm tree with warts on his feet. He was jealous of Xoma. The palm tree tried to throw me in the fire.
He really did that.
Finally, he left. I was refusing Xoma, but now I thought, if I was still unmarried, the palm tree would come back and kill me. So I said to myself, this Xoma is short and he has a beautiful nose. My mother said, he's also smart. Finally, my father agreed. So we were married, and Xoma came to live with us at Gaucha.
Among the Juntwasi, the couple at marriage move in with the wife's family and live there for 3, 5, 7, or even 10 years, hunting for their in-laws so that they can show to the in-laws that they're worthy of marrying the daughter. And so it is interesting that sometimes the men just get so used to living in their wife's village that they stay there for the rest of their lives.
Although a couple moves in with the woman's parents at marriage, the Juntwasi residence pattern is ambilocal. Ambilocal residence, or the option to live near or with either the man's or the woman's family, is adaptive in situations where resources are uncertain and where cooperation is beneficial. Residence patterns refer to rights of residency and may not always be reflected in what an individual family does. Juntwasi children inherit rights in both their mother's and father's camps and may move back and forth over time. Residence patterns reflect subsistence and kinship systems. Matrilocal residence, where the new married couple goes to live with or near the bride's kin, occurs in societies where women's role in subsistence is primary and where cooperation among women benefits families and society. Although relatively rare, matrilocality is favored in some horticultural societies where women do the gardening, or in societies like the Hopi, where men do the farming, but women own the land and houses. Neo-local residence, where the newlywed couple sets up their new household independently of either side of the family, is favored when the need for cooperative labor is reduced because economic activity takes place away from the family. This is common in most post-industrial societies. Although the majority of marriages around the world are monogamous, it is not the most preferred form of marriage. Instead, polygamy, or marriage involving more than one spouse, is considered the most beneficial in a majority of human societies. The presence of multiple spouses allows households to increase productivity, ensure access to greater resources, and manage multiple tasks and opportunities efficiently. In southwestern Ethiopia, the Hamar practice polygyny. One man may have multiple wives. They are agro-pastoralists who grow corn and sorghum and herd cattle, goats, and sheep. Polygyny is often found in societies where women do much of the cultivation. In these cases, multiple wives produce more labor and more children to assist with food production tasks. For this reason, polygyny can be beneficial to both men and women. Sego's two wives, Duka and Boro, live together in a single household. They each have their own fields to cultivate, but they help each other with the work, especially following childbirth when a woman is not allowed to work. Duka is the senior wife, and she has just given birth to her fourth child, Tini. The junior wife, Boro, gave birth to her first child, Tamo, 6 months earlier.
Tainta, Tini da imbur kada. Kung kadiling ko di ana shudit Tini. Nansakan kama. Boro iso ida bro kadina kaya to no ano kalba. Hakana kama. Dan si iyang ko siya da ada. Kaya na kung Allah bakap ina ya disi. Nasa suting ka ina nuta asap. Shanin bayi ina nasa tiyap. Ini boro kol mina pente watta sida inta ushan doya. Shan dai si ini ka ya pa.
Kemang kad duqar barang bam kunnun tiri sada qolay. Barang kad koti kodir over imbe kun bekin ko sa kunsan. Tu kada tamu qoshay tamu kul iyang garasi ko bishin da zaka anga latinian adan na kunum burqadeng kodi adiman na burqades nansi adan na kan yadat kunamang kidi rati di rati rakida baka inken amin dar gutsang amin inno qacay inta duqa min idqoji amay sanchat ken sa adiman na adan na kunayang konda utat kunnon amin daqoji talai kidi konnon amin daqoji kaya kalan ini fil konnon qoja innon qoja tini amta kajilo tini amta kamu
With Duka's 4 children and Boro's 1, the family is growing quickly. Soon the oldest son, Bargar, will be big enough to help his father. In cultures in which women do most of the labor and create the wealth for their husbands, polygyny can benefit women and men equally. The women have each other for support and help with all of the necessary activities, and the men achieve wealth and status.
Anzabish adijan nada galika yakanka gasha irreda adidi angina anna kidi gala da kina gutuma kya watanna fir kidan dotta kauta kadan imba fakati idotte inda da idotte dama manu an ga dilin dardai kidi ana kauda faka waaw wada gisha irero donga talaka da digan nan dotta fir kala adidan na warda kidi ular da kidi fir ana amin koye kidi agora fir gali.
Polygyny is practiced in the United States, albeit illegally, by several splinter groups from the Mormon Church.
Mormon polygyny is interesting in this regard because it insists that the ideal way of living is a polygamous family. They believe it is a difficult family arrangement, but still that it is a character-building experience. As one co-wife said to me, and she had 3 co-wives besides herself, so there were 4 co-wives in the family, she said, I would never live this life if it wasn't for God's will. So, there's economic benefits. You can share a car, you pay insurance for just 1 car, not a bunch. You can share dishes, you have someone that's always looking at your kids, and there's a lot of benefits to polygyny. But personally, I never would live it if it wasn't God's will. And what she meant by that was, the underlying tension in all polygynous families is access to the husband.
Not all polygynous marriages are cooperative, and so the stress factor is very real. Competition among wives can be extraordinarily intense, particularly if wives are required to compete for the resources of their husbands, particularly resources not only for themselves, but resources for their children. We also see that there's a reproductive cost to women in polygynous marriages. Women in polygynous marriages actually have fewer children than women in monogamous marriages. So if we look at it from a reproductive success point of view, there is a real cost to polygyny as well for women.
Saya lagi bekerja, kebiasaannya kalau masuk malam ya, kalau saya lagi ngantuk sekali, saya itu sering ingat kampung itu. Aduh, kalau di kampung ini nggak bakalan terjadi, saya nggak bakalan saya begadang malam, kerja malam seperti ini. Saya kerja 7-7, masuk jam 7, pulang jam 7. Jadi kerja di PT Elektronik, yaitu pembuatan PCB untuk hard disk komputer. Waktu masih di kampung dulu, saya sering ngajarin Wati masak biar nanti gede bisa masak, nanti pun kalau married pinter masak. Jadi nanti suaminya yang nggak makan di luar terus. Kadang-kadang sedih gitu kan, kadang-kadang kalau kangen sekali Wati nelfon, tanya, Mak masak apa di sana? Jadi walaupun dia jauh, di perasaan Wati dia dekat, soalnya nama ibu, wajah ibu ada di hati Wati. Ngirim sama nanggung di sini aja udah habis gitu kan. Sama sekali orang ini nggak punya kerja, jadi saya yang biayain semua kan dari.
Families exist to provide social and economic support to individuals, especially children. Marriage is a part of family and household organization. The way we arrange ourselves into families and households reflects the larger cultural system to which we belong. Families and households ensure our biological, social, and economic survival.